Hello, Christopher Fliss, founder of Resilient Asset Management, talking about the Pilot Retirement Account Plan at United Airlines, PRAP for short. Before we get into this, some strategies, I thought it'd be beneficial to talk about some general background on that govern all employer-provided retirement plans. The first, you'll hear a lot of different numbers and a lot of things thrown around. Some are static, some will change. The governing the limit that governs how much money can come into your plan every year is called 415C, okay, or 415C limit. Kind of like 401k, but 415C governs how much can actually come into your plan from all sources. Okay, so that amount will fluctuate, will grow every year because it's indexed to inflation. So I didn't want to put static numbers here to confuse things. For calendar year 2023, the maximum addition to a plan is $66,000. If for those who are under the age of 50. If you're over the age of 50, you can contribute 73.5. Okay, because you're entitled to the catch-up contribution, we'll talk about in a second. For employee deferrals for all plans, the maximum amount you can defer is the $22,500. If you're over the age of 50, then you're allowed to also avail yourself of the catch-up contribution, which is, although functionally a deferral, it's technically called the catch-up contribution. From there, the employer contribution, this is not uniform to all plans. Some provide matching funds or whatever. In the United case, it's a very good plan, very good benefit for the pilots, is a flat 16% under the current contract. Realize that might change soon. Is 16% of what you're paid in addition to your pay goes into the PRAP on your behalf. United contributes that. And unlike some other plans, you're not required to contribute anything to your PRAP in order to get the 16%. So that's a very good benefit, which we'll talk about more on how to utilize that in just one second. And also there are called post-tax contributions. So once you make your employee and catch-up contributions, you can also do what are called post-tax contributions, which in the United plan can be immediately converted to Roth. So that doesn't have a limit per se, but when you do contribute, you have to confine yourself to the overall contribution limits, and we'll talk about how we can maximize that in a minute. But these must be post-tax. For your deferrals, you can elect to have either your deferrals or catch-up be pre-tax or post-tax, depending on your preferences. Employer contributions, by definition, must be post-tax for the time being. Later on in legislation has been introduced to make those potentially post-tax as well. Okay, so the sum of all these contribution sources here, okay, must be are limited by these numbers here, okay, and then so 415C is the policy number or the section code that dictates all of those numbers, and these numbers are all published well in advance of the new year for the coming year, so there's no surprises. Okay. As far as the United plan in particular, okay, so when you start to make contributions to the PRAP, they initially go directly into the plan. Okay, so when you make a deferral or catch-up contribution, those will go here, and then in concert, the employer contributions of 16% are going to go into the plan as well. Okay, once the combination of all of these income sources exceeds 66,000 or 73.5 if you're over the age of 50, then rather than have the employer contributions come in here, they will cease to go here, and now the remaining contributions for that year will go here into the AHRA, which is the active healthcare reimbursement arrangement. Okay, and those can be used for current year medical expenses. Okay, so now when twice a year, once in January, once in June. For January, the amounts above 15,000, and June, the amounts above 5,000. Those port from the AHRA into the RHA. So AHRA is for current year, RHA is for later years. Why you want to have money go into either one is a topic unto itself. We won't delve too much farther into it here. But just realize that just because one of the unique things about the United plan is that even though you are limited by the 66 and the 73.5, that doesn't mean the contributions stop. They go over here into the AHRA, and you can still garner significant benefit from those plans, which feeds right into our different strategies. Okay, so the first strategy we're going to talk about is max post-tax. So this is someone who wants to get as much money as he or she can into the post-tax portion of the PRAP. So who would want to do that? Well, if you have lots of cash in the banks, you're sitting on a mountain of cash, either you sold a house or inheritance or what have you, and you have this cash that's sitting here that you don't necessarily need right now, that you can utilize to populate your the Roth portion of your PRAP. Also, if you earn significantly more than you spend, so you're sitting there making X number of dollars per year, and you just can't spend all of it, and you've got all this cash laying around, which kind of feeds into the first bullet, and say, okay, now I want to utilize all the different retirement tools at my disposal so that I can maximize the benefits. Another reason would be if you have really small Roth balances. So in retirement, for various reasons, it's beneficial at times to have money in taxable accounts, tax deferred accounts, and tax-free accounts. If you have some folks will really populate their pre-tax dollars trying to save taxes in the current day, and they have very small Roth balances. That can work against you at times in retirement. So if you don't have Roth balances, or they're significantly smaller than your tax deferred balances, then that may be a consideration to utilize this sort of strategy. Now, as far as how you would utilize this, so in the United plan, you cannot contribute to the post-tax bucket, if you will, until you've maximized the employee deferrals, which again is the 22.5, and then if you are over the age of 50, an additional 7.5. So one of the qualities, someone call it a drawback of the plan, is that you must tick this box completely until anything can go over here at all. So what you would do is you would quickly populate your employee deferral bucket with as quickly as you possibly could, up to, I think you can go to 90 or 90+% on your United Pay. So the maximum, or a good portion of your United Pay initially would go into the deferral bucket. Depending on your tax situation, you may want that to be Roth, or you may want that to be pre-tax. For argument's sake, we'll assume it's going to be pre-tax, because most United pilots are in significantly high tax brackets, so a deferral makes sense. Then, rather than have this is you over here. It's the best silhouette that I could find in the library. So now this is obviously going to draw your United take-home pay down significantly. So whatever shortcomings you have in your monthly budget, then you take cash and you spend that instead of what you would have taken home in United Pay, and that will go here. Then in 3 or 4 months, however long it takes you to get to your $22,500 or $30,000 total into the employee deferral, then you're going to maximize your post-tax contributions to the same amount. I'm going to put as much money as I can into the post-tax bucket, and I'm not concerned about employer contributions. However, you have to be mindful that just as you're contributing money into your employee deferral, United is racing against you to get money into the plan as well. So if you want to maximize your post-tax contributions, you have to really expedite the how quickly you fill these buckets. And same thing, as you're filling the post-tax bucket, then whatever cash shortfall you have, again, is going to come from the cash that you have sitting on the sidelines, as we identified as one of the qualities of the who'd want to utilize this strategy. Then you would get the maximum amount of money into the post-tax bucket before you would reach your 415C limit. And then once you reach the 415C limit, then your employer contributions would then go into your AHRA and into your RHA potentially, depending on how quickly that the balance goes. So this strategy would be good for folks who want to maximize that post-tax bucket. Okay. For folks who want to just maximize their tax deferral, meaning that who'd want to do, so they want to get as big of a tax deduction as they can, but they're really not interested in anything beyond that. So for that, they would have, folks who want to do this would be folks who have high fixed costs. So I've got children in private school, I like to buy nice toys, I like to travel, I like to otherwise spend. I want to still get a tax deferral because I don't like paying taxes, but I want to take home as much money as I can, beyond that. That would be one quality. The other quality would be I have really high Roth account balances. I've got a Roth account balance I'm really content with, and I'm otherwise not wanting to contribute more into the retirement accounts because I'm satisfied with those for my own needs. Another person who would do this would be folks who have small taxable account balances. So as I explained before, you want to have a little bit of continuity between your taxable, pre-tax, and post-tax accounts or tax-free accounts, because in retirement, those can benefit you at different times. So if your taxable account balances are really low, this would be a strategy where you can build those up while you're trying to balance out the three types. Okay, so for here, the process is pretty simple. The max deferral if you're over the age of 50, I'll just use that as an example, we know is $30,000. So all you would do is you would go into the PRAP online platform and just set your monthly contribution at $2,500 per month, or the percentage that equals, and then that would get you to your $30,000 in equal spots over the year. And then United would be doing their 17% and depending on what your compensation is, you may or may not get to the 415C limit. If you did, you would just go probably slightly over, and that would be ported over into your AHRA. So here, you're probably contributing a portion of your pay here and perhaps living on the rest, so you don't have to go into any kind of cash reserves unnecessarily. Okay, so that's the max tax deferral strategy. Okay, so max RHA, this kind of goes in line with strategy number one. So, but however, you have a definite focus of I want to get as much money into the RHA as I possibly can. So I want to do deferrals quickly so that my RHA will build up because I want to utilize that source of funds in retirement. So who wants to do that? So again, lots of cash on hand. So you don't need all your take-home pay. You can close any kind of gaps in your spending with what you have in the bank, essentially. Other one would be what you want to solve for long-term care and medical expenses in retirement. So don't have a long-term care policy. I know with RHA, it's very, very permissive as far as what can be reimbursed. So I'm going to really pump the RHA up as much as I can, knowing that I may not utilize all of it, but if something untoward were to happen to me medically in retirement, I have a source of funds from which I can draw to cover those expenses. Another one would be, again, small Roth balances. So because in order to get the money into the AHRA intervention of the RHA, you've got to really expedite how much you put into the post-tax bucket, so you get to your 415C limit quite quickly. Okay, so same sort of strategy here. You need to get to your $30,000 deferral, whether it be pre-tax or post-tax, situation dependent. But so most of your United pay is going to go here, and then whatever cash that you need as a shortfall for living expenses will come from cash in the bank or other sources of funds. Then once you maximize the $30,000, you will then maximize your post-tax contributions, because remember, your United is going to be racing against the excuse me, not 17. Not 17 yet. It's going to be 16. United is going to be contributing 16% each month into your PRAP. So you want to be able to limit that and maximize the post-tax contributions. Okay, so the quickest I've seen with these is usually about somewhere between 2 to 4 months, 3 plus a little bit, and that maxes out both these plans. And then that's going to, both these portions of of the PRAP buckets. So they get completely filled. Then, rather than 16% going into your PRAP, it's going to go into the AHRA, and then assuming it's above the amounts that are swept each January and each June, that amount above that will then go into the RHA, which will then be there permanently until you get to retirement. Okay, so that's for folks who want to maximize the RHA. All right, the last strategy we'll talk about before we close is min AHRA. So this is for folks who have little cash on hand. So they don't want to have to contribute a whole heck of a lot of money into their retirement accounts because they want to preserve funds, or they want to collect funds for an immediate expense or whatever, or what have you. For whatever reason, they want to consolidate cash in their hands and not be locked up into an account. Again, small taxable brokerage account balances. So this feeds off of the taxable, pre-tax, and post-tax strategy we talked about before. If you have very little taxable brokerage account balances, you may want to have more cash in your hand, which then you can contribute to a taxable account. And this also for those who like to spend. Not everybody is hardwired to want to save and maximize their savings for retirement. Some folks they maybe have significant wealth through inheritance or other means, or just great investment performance, and then they think, hey, I don't want to put a lot of money into retirement accounts. I'm happy with what I got. Whatever I make today, I'm going to spend, and then whatever I stop working, I'm going to live off of my savings accounts or investable assets. Okay, so how would you do that? For here, all you would do is you would sort of have an idea of what 17% of your pay is going to be. So let's say 17% of your pay is going to be, say, $40,000. Well, that's probably not the best example. Let's say it's going to be, $20,000. Okay, so you want to make sure that you limit any amount of deferrals into these buckets, so that you don't exceed the $73,500. That's then going to pour money into the AHRA. So in order to do that, you would either just set a very small amount into your employee deferrals, such that you're not going to exceed the employer the 415C limit with the 15C limit with the employer contributions. Then what that's going to result in is that no money would get ported over into the AHRA, and then all the money would stay in the plan, and you would maximize the amounts that come here, because as you would have a small amount going here, more money is going to come here into your pocket, and then you won't have to use any funds that are in the bank. And then here, once you have more cash in your hand, then you can perhaps, if you're looking to build up your taxable account brokerage account balances, contribute that to a taxable brokerage account. Or, like I said, if you're already happy with your investable assets, simply just spend the money that you got, because that's what you're intending to do. Okay, so that's to put the minimum amount of money into the AHRA. Okay, those four examples obviously don't cover every potentiality that could happen in one's financial circumstances. So if you'd like for us to have a look at your personal circumstances and see how you can leverage the tools available via the United PRAP plan, be happy to talk with you and see what we can do to help you achieve your goals. All right, that's what we'll close for the PRAP primer. Thanks for your time, and we'll hope to hear from you soon.